So simplifying radicals. Okay, that's basically what all of these are, one way or another. First one, you have to work it out. I would do the numbers first. Square root of 24. Square root of 24 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 6. So I get 2 root 6 strictly for the 24. And then for the exponents, it's easy. Because I have a square root, my index is 2. Divide the powers by 2. Whatever I get comes out front. The remainder stays inside. 7 divided by 2 is 3 with the remainder 1. So I have g cubed and g to the first. And then 2 goes into 4 evenly twice. So I have h squared. So to kind of neaten it up, 2g cubed, h squared, square root of 6g. Question number 2, simplify. In order to simplify, they need to be like radicals. As they stand, none of them are like radicals. However, they might be if I simplify them first. A clue would be the simplified one already, root 3. Does 3 go into the other ones? 27 is 9 times 3. So I get 3 root 3 for the 27. 12 is 4 times 3. So I get 2 root 3 for 12 minus 1 root 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 minus 1. I have 4 roots of 3. Number 3 is probably the most difficult of all of the ones here. To simplify means you have to rationalize the denominator. You multiply by the conjugate, which is the denominator with the sign between the two items change. So I multiply by 7 plus root 2 over 7 plus root 2. The numerator I FOIL out. 3 times 7, 21. 3 times root 2, 3 root 2. Root 2 times 7, 7 root 2. Root 2 times root 2 is 2. A square root times itself is the number underneath the square root. My denominator, the shortcut for multiplying by the conjugate. Square the first term, minus 49, minus the square root of the second term. Simplify, combine up like terms. Your numerator, 21 plus 2, I get 23. 3 root 2 plus 7 root 2, so that's 10 root 2. 49 minus 2 is 47. And that's my answer. I cannot simplify that anymore. And the last one on here, FOIL it out, or it is a conjugate, so you can just square the first term minus square the second term. That would work. I'm going to FOIL this, even though I recognize it as, ooh, it's the exact same thing as plus and minus. I could just square the first term, square the last term, and add them together. I'm going to go ahead and FOIL it out instead, just to kind of make sure you understand the FOILing. 3 root 7 times 3 root 7. 3 times 3 is 9. Root 7 times root 7 is 7. 9 times 7 gives me 63. I get 63 for multiplying those. 3 times 3 is 9. Root 7 times root 7 is 7. 9 times 7, 63. 3 root 7 times minus 2 is minus 6 root 7. 2 times 3 root 7 is positive 6 root 7. 2 times 2 minus 4. 63 minus 4 is 59, and these ones cancel each other out. So 59 is my answer. Because I have negative 6 root 7 and positive 6 root 7. They cancel each other out. Questions on that first set of problems? Okay, simplifying using exponents and the such. Number 5, simplify it out. What you need to do on this is write it as a single numerical answer. Get rid of the exponents. That's the idea behind this. So I've got several things going on with my exponent. I've got a negative. I've got a 3 in the numerator, 4 in the denominator. First step, get rid of the negative in the exponent. This is 1 over 16 to the 3/4. That's your first step. Then either get rid of the numerator or the denominator. I would always get rid of the denominator first because it makes your numbers smaller. The denominator means I take that root. So I take the 4th root. 4th root of 16 is 2. So I get 2 cubed in my denominator. 1 over 2 cubed. 4th root of 16 is 2. 2 cubed is 8. So my answer is 1/8. Number 6, write it as a radical. In other words, get rid of the fractions, write it as a radical. Your denominator is your root. Each fraction has a denominator of 5. That means I have a 5th root. I have the 5th root of 3 to the 1st, which is 3, x to the 7th, and y cubed. Number 7 is the exact opposite. Yes?
Couldn't you take out the x?
Nope, don't want to do that. It's strictly write it as a radical. It does not say simplify. It says write as a radical. This would be your final answer because it's what I'm asking you. Now, if you simplified the radical after doing this, if you had that right, I wouldn't mark you wrong for it, but this is all it's asking you to do. So don't go any farther than that and screw it up. Okay? The next one says write it as an exponential. In other words, get rid of the radical, fractional exponents. I have a 4th root, so that means I'm going to have fractional exponents with a denominator of 4. Everything in there is going to have a denominator of 4. Now I have a here by itself, that's a to the 1st power. So I have a to the 1/4, b to the 5/4, over c to the 7/4. And that's where I want to leave it. Okay, just take that 4, that means it's a denominator of 4, give everything a fractional to the denominator of 4. Number 8 is a little more difficult, but it's not bad. Okay, it's not bad. Here's what I would do first. Simplify what's inside the parentheses first. I have choices. That's what I would do first. And I would go ahead, any negative exponents I get, just have negative exponents. Trust me on this. So do your subtraction. When you simplify, when you're dividing, just subtract the exponents as they are. So I have a cubed divided by a to the 1st, 3 minus 1, I get a squared. B to the negative 3 minus b to the 1st. So I have negative 3 minus 1. What's negative 3 minus 1? Negative 4. Watch your pluses and minuses. And then I have c to the negative 5, but where is that? It's in my denominator. I can leave it there or I can bring it up. It doesn't really matter. There's no other c's. It's probably okay. I would just leave it where it is so I don't mess with it and screw it up. That's the inside. It is still raised to the negative 2 power. Okay. All I've done is simplify what's inside. Now take that negative 2 and distribute. And when you raise the power to a power, you multiply. So multiply every exponent times negative 2. So negative 2 times 2 gives me a to the negative 4. Negative 4 times 2 gives me b to the 8th. Negative 5 times negative 2 over c to the 10th. It's negative 2 times every exponent. I'm not allowed to have negative exponents in my final answer. I have one. I have a to the negative 4 to make it a to the positive 4. Move that to the denominator. So that means I have, scribble up, b to the 8th over a to the 4th, c to the 10th. That's my final answer. Probably one of the more difficult ones on this test. Next one actually isn't too terribly bad. First thing I want to know, what is d to the 0? 1. So this just becomes 1. That is now irrelevant. D to the 0 is gone. All I got to do is worry about the rest of it. And I square everything. So I take 5, so I have 5 squared. B to the cube squared means I'm multiplying b to the 6. C to the negative 2 squared. C to the negative 4. All I need is square everything. Okay. Now, 5 squared, I don't want to have 5 squared. I rewrite that as 25. And then I have b to the 6. I'm not allowed to have a negative exponent. So I move the c to the 4th to the denominator and make it a positive 1. Yes?
Do you add, what that b to 0 when it turns into 1, do you add that?
What's 1 squared?
1.
What's 1 times anything?
1. Or it itself.
Right. So.
But when you add it to the 25?
No, you're multiplying. Right? Is there any addition in here at all? It's all multiplication. What's 1 times 5? So it's 5 squared. Other questions? Okay. Solving radical equations. This one got a little tricky for some of you. First step, get the square root by itself. So my first step on this one is to add 8 to both sides. Square root of x minus 3 equals 3. Negative 5 plus 8 is 3, yeah. Square both sides. X minus 3 equals 9. Add 3. X equals 12. And then I need to try it in the original problem to see if it works. 12 minus 3 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 minus 8 is negative 5. That one's good. That's bueno. Number 11. I don't have a square root. I don't have a cube root. I have a 4th root. So I need to raise everything to the 4th power. That gives me 4x minus 5 equals 2, 4, 8, 16. 2 to the 4th is 16. Add 5. 4x equals 21. Divide by 4. X equals 21 fourths. And don't try to rewrite that. Leave it as 21 fourths. And try it in the original problem. 21 fourths times 4 is 21. 21 minus 5 is 16. 4th root of 16 is 2. It's good. Don't assume it is, because you had problems on your quizzes, had problems in the homework, problems in the examples, that even with single problems like this, single answers, some of them work good. Always check the answers. Make sure what you have works. And now the fun one. I think it's fun. First step, add 5 to both sides. Square root of 2x plus 13 equals x plus 5. Square both sides. 2x plus 13 equals x squared plus 10x plus 25. It is not x squared plus 25. It's x plus 5 times x plus 5. You have to have that middle term. Subtract 2x from both sides. Subtract 13 from both sides. So you get 0 equals x squared plus 8x plus 12. Two numbers that multiply to give me 12 that add to give me 8. X plus 2. X plus 6. Once again, if you need to set up the Xbox thing, 12 on the top and on the bottom, 2 and 6. So that means I get x equals -2 and x equals -6. Try them. -2. -2 times 2 is -4. -4 plus 13 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 minus 5 is -2. -2 works just fine. -6. -6 times 2 is -12. -12 plus 13 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. 1 minus 5 is 4, not -6. You need to try them both. If you don't try them both, I'm going to know. Questions so far? Okay. Let f of x equals 4x plus 2, g of x equals 3x squared, h of x is -x plus 1. Find these three items. First one, find f of 2. That's an easy one. You take f of x, replace x with 2, replace x with 2. That's 4 times 2 plus 2, 8 plus 2, that's 10. Find g of h of f of 3. I need to find f of 3 first. So f of 3 is 4 times 3 plus 1, which is 13. So this is actually g of h of 13. You're right, plus 2. My bad. Thank you for catching that. So f of 3 is 4 times 3 plus 2, which is 14. So this is not h of 13. This is h of 14. Thank you. So now I got to figure out what h of 14 is. H of 14 is -14 plus 1, which is -13. So this is really g of -13. G is 3x squared. 3 times -13 squared. 3 times 169. So that would be, let's see, 3 times 9 is 27. Put down the 7, carry the 2. 3 times 6 is 18. 18 plus 2 is 20. Put down the 0, carry the 2. So 507. That's what I get. You have to celebrate the little things in life, the little tiny successes, because sometimes that's all you get. Yes, you want more than that, but sometimes the little successes are all you're going to get for a little while. Celebrate those too. Okay? So the next one, 4f of x minus 2g of x, that's 4 times what f of x is, 4x plus 2. Minus 2 times g of x, which is 3x squared. Distribute and simplify. So that's 16x plus 8 minus 6x squared. And then I want to make it look pretty by putting it in standard form. 6x squared plus 16x plus 8. Because you want to make it look pretty. Questions? Algebraic manipulation, that's what this is about. Okay. Find the inverse of f of x equals 5x minus 8. First step, replace f of x with y. Y equals 5x minus 8. Solve that equation for x in terms of y. Add 8 to both sides. Y plus 8 equals 5x. Divide both sides by 5. Y plus 8 over 5 equals x. So F inverse of x is x plus 8 over 5. It is in terms of x, not in terms of y. Swapping the x and y is important. Okay, it needs to be in terms of x, not in terms of y. I don't believe I marked that wrong on your test, on your quiz, but I will on the test. Okay, it's a function of x, not a function of y. Okay. State the inverse of the point, 6, negative 5. That's negative 5, 6. And then the paper fold. Draw the inverse of the graph below. It's hard to see here, but I have it. There's the inverse function there. How did I find it? I took a pencil and I ran over this function here with the pencil, and then I folded it on the reflection line. The most commonly missed part of this question is not folding it on the correct line. It's always the reflection line, which is the line y equals x. All inverses are reflected across that line. So if the function has an inverse, it will be reflected across that line. Not all functions have inverses. Okay. So they have to be reflected across that line. Okay. Performance task number 1. Identify the error. Circle the first error you find in the steps below and then determine the correct solution. Well, this is kind of actually, there is a typo. The first error is actually a typo. This is the first error here. However, that is not the error I am looking for, because that is, like I said, a typo. Because the rest of it's correct. If I had that as 3 root 12, my actual error would be this. 6 root 3 minus 4 cube root 3 cannot be combined together. One's a square root, one's a cube root. You cannot combine cube roots and square roots under any circumstances. Well, you can, but you need to do fractional exponents. Oh my God, it's a pain in the butt. It's not worth it. You're not going to do it. Okay. The rest of this, however, if I change this to 12, it's correct. So 3 root 12. Root 12 is 4 times 3. And then the 4, the square root of 4 gives me 2. 2 times the 3, that gives me the 6 here. So that becomes 6 root 3. That's good. Cube root of 54. 54 is 8 times 3. Why do I pick 8? Because 8's a perfect cube. The cube root of 8 is 2. So I have 2 times 2 gives me the 4 in front. That is correct. This would be my correct answer. Everything else is just fine, except for that part there. Like I said, the first error is actually a typo. It shouldn't have been that, but if you saw that as a mistake, okay, now I'd accept that because I screwed up and gave you a typo instead of what I was actually looking for. And you can notice that as being the first mistake. I would, yeah. Because how many times do students copy crap down wrong? It happens a lot. It happens a lot, which is why I say don't use scratch paper when you can write on the test if you can fit what you're working on the test. Because then you're not copying something down on another piece of paper and screwing it up. And then having to copy your answer back and screwing it up again. Okay? If you can write on the test, write on the frickin' test. Don't use scratch paper unless you don't have room to write on the test. You're less likely to make a transposition error. Okay. Questions on this? Okay. Same thing. Given f of x is 2x and g of x is x squared plus 4, create the composite function g of f of x. G composed of f is actually g of f of x, which means I'm going to take f, stick it inside of g. Okay. Do I do that here? F of x is 2x. Do I take 2x and plug it in there? Is that what's going on here? Yeah, I have that. I did that. I took 2x and I'm squaring it and adding 4. I'm putting f inside g. That's what that means to do. I stuck f inside g. So I take 2x and square it, and there's where my mistake lies. This is wrong. What should that be? Nope. What should it be? If I take 2x and square it, 4x squared. That should be 4x squared. 4x squared plus 4. So I'm taking 2x in parentheses, which means I'm doing 2x times 2x. I'm squaring everything that's inside the parentheses. Square the 2 and the x. Okay? And that was a mistake on that one. Questions?